Melanie Klein was a highly creative and original Viennese Jewish psychoanalyst who discovered the work of Freud at the age of 32 and devoted her life to enriching and nuancing it in intriguing and valuable ways. Born in 1882, Klein was held back by her father from her desire to become a doctor and was pushed by her family into a loveless marriage with a coarse, unpleasant man with whom she had nothing in common. She was bored, sexually frustrated, and mentally unwell. Psychoanalysis saved her. She left her husband, read everything she could, attended lectures, and started publishing papers of her own. She soon departed from Freud in an area that most other analysts had overlooked, the analysis of children. Freud had been very sceptical that children could ever be analysed properly, their minds being, in his view, too unformed to allow for a perspective on the unconscious. But Klein now argued that an analyst could get a usable view into a child's inner world through studying how they played with toys. She therefore equipped her consulting room with small horses, figurines and locomotives, and established herself as a child psychoanalyst, first in Berlin and then in London, where she settled in 1926 and remained for the rest of her life. In her work with children, Melanie Klein wanted to understand how human beings evolve from the primitive, pleasure-seeking impulses of early infancy to the more mature adaptations of later life, and in particular, she wanted to know what might go wrong on this journey, giving rise to the neurotic adaptations of adults. In her 1932 book, The Psychoanalysis of Children, she described the difficulty of the young infant situation. Weak, utterly at the mercy of adults, unable to grasp what's happening, the infant cannot, in Klein's description, grasp that people around it are in fact people with their own alternative reality and independent points of view. In the early weeks, the mother is not even a mother to her child. She is, to come to the crux of Melanie Klein's theories, just a pair of breasts which appear and disappear with unpredictable and painful randomness. In relation to this mother, all the infant experiences are moments of intense pain and then equally intense pleasure. When the breast is there and the milk flows, a primordial calm and satisfaction descends upon the infant. It's suffused with feelings of well-being, gratitude and tenderness, feelings that will, in adulthood, be strongly associated with being in love, a moment where breasts continue to play a notable role for many. But when the breast is, for whatever reason, missing, the infant feels starving, enraged, terrified, and vengeful. This, thought Klein, leads the infant to adopt a primitive defense mechanism against what would otherwise be intolerable anxiety. The infant splits the mother into two very different breasts, a good breast and a bad breast. The bad breast is hated with a passion. The infant wants to bite, wound, and destroy this object of unholy frustration. But the good breast is revered with an equally thorough, though more benign intensity. With time, in healthy development, this split heals. The child gradually perceives that there is in truth no entirely good and no entirely bad breast. Both belong to a mother, who is a perplexing mixture of the positive and the negative, a source of pleasure and frustration, joy and suffering. The child discovers a key idea in Kleinian psychoanalysis, the concept of ambivalence. To be able to feel ambivalent about someone is for Kleinians an enormous psychological achievement and the first marker on the path to genuine maturity. But it isn't inevitable or assured. Only slowly can a healthy child grasp the crucial distinction between intention and effect, between what a mother may have wanted for it and what the child may have felt at her hands nevertheless. These complicated psychological reactions belong to a phase that Klein called the depressive position, a moment of soberness and melancholy when the growing child takes on board, unconsciously, the idea that reality is more complicated and less morally neat than it had ever previously imagined. The mother, and other people generally, cannot neatly be blamed for every setback. Almost nothing is totally pure or totally evil. Things are a perplexing, thought-provoking mixture of the good and the bad. This is hard to take, and for Klein explains the serious, far-away look that may sometimes enter the eyes of children during daydreams. These small beings look oddly wise and grave at such moments. They are somewhere deep inside, cottoning on to the moral ambiguity of the real adult world. Unfortunately, in Klein's analysis, not everyone makes it to the depressive position. Some get stuck in a mode of primitive splitting that she termed the paranoid schizoid position. For many years, even into adulthood, these unfortunate people find themselves unable to tolerate the slightest ambivalence. They're keen to preserve the sense of their own innocence, and they must either hate or love. They seek scapegoats or they idealize. In relationships, they fall violently in love, and then at some inevitable moment when a lover in some way disappoints them, they switch abruptly and become incapable of feeling anything anymore. These unfortunates are likely to move from candidate to candidate, always seeking a vision of complete satisfaction, total goodness, which is repeatedly violated by an unwitting error on the lover's part. We don't have to believe in the literal truth of every part of Melanie Klein's theories to see that they have value for us as an unusual but useful representation of what it means to be a proper grown-up. The impulse to reduce people into what they can do for us, give us milk, make us money, keep us happy, rather than what they are in and of themselves, in other words, a multifaceted being, this can be painfully observed in emotional life generally. With Melanie Klein's help, we learn that coming to terms with the ambivalent, complex nature of all relationships belongs to the business of growing up, a task we're never quite done with, and is likely to leave us a little sad, if not for a time, quite simply depressed.